Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I welcome you again. We are studying chapter stars and planets. We have studied about planet Mercury, planet Venus and Earth, and we have also studied about the Sun. Today we will study some more planets. So firstly, let us study the planet Mars. It's also called Mangal in Hindi. Okay, it's called Mangal in Hindi. And as you can see here, the color of this Mars is slightly reddish color. Okay, slightly reddish color. And it is the first planet which is outside the orbit of Earth. Okay. Planet Mercury and Venus lie inside the orbit of the Earth, and this is outside the orbit of the Earth. And it appears slightly reddish, and therefore it is also called the red planet. So this is called the red planet because it appears slightly reddish. And as we have seen that our Earth appears blue because there is lot of water present on the Earth, and this is due to the reflection of light by by water. Our Earth appears blue, and this planet Mars appears slightly reddish. And it has two small natural satellites. Okay, it has two small natural satellites, as you can see here, and the satellite is one which rotates around the planet. Okay, so there are two satellites which revolve around this Mars. So there have been these organizations which study Mars. Okay, which study Mars. Mangalyaan. Okay, Mangalyaan was the India's satellite. It was launched by ISRO, Indian Space Satellite Organization, and it was India's first Mars orbiter mission. Okay, and Mangalyaan on November 5, 2013, it was successfully placed in an orbit of Mars on September 24, 2014. So in September 24, 2014, the satellite which was launched by ISRO was successfully placed in the orbit of Mars. So it was placed in orbit of Mars to study the Mars. Okay, to study whether the water is present there, whether the oxygen is present there. So with this, India became the first country in the world to do so in its first attempt. So India was the first country to do this Mars mission, although there are other countries which have launched the satellites, but India was the first country to do in the first attempt. Okay, it was the first attempt, and India successfully launched it. And now comes the Jupiter. Okay, this is the fifth planet. First one is Mercury, then Venus, then Earth, then Mars, and now this is the Jupiter. This is the fifth planet, and in Hindi it is called Brihaspati. Okay, Brihaspati. And Jupiter is the largest planet of the solar system. So this is the largest planet of the solar system. It is so large that about 1300 Earths can be placed inside the giant planet. So as you can see that 1300 Earths can be placed inside the giant planet. That means we can say that this Jupiter is equal to the 1300 Earths. Okay, and however, the mass of Jupiter is about 318 times that of our Earth. But if we compare the mass of Jupiter and mass of Earth, mass of Jupiter is 318 times that of our Earth. 380 times that of our Earth, and it rotates very rapidly on its axis. It rotates very fast on its axis. Okay, so this has the greater speed. And Jupiter has the largest number of satellites. It has giant rings around it. You can easily recognize Jupiter as it appears quite bright in the sky. Okay, and it has many satellites which rotate along this planet. And we have studied. We have seen, okay. It appears quite bright in the sky. If you observe it with the help of telescope, okay. If you observe it with the help of telescope, you can also see 4 of its large moons. Okay, so these 4 moons are its larger moons. Although there are many other moons which revolve around this, which rotate around this Jupiter, but they are smaller. And these 4 moons are larger moons. Okay, they are bigger moons which rotate around the Jupiter. As you can see here, this is the image taken with the help of telescope. Okay, let's move forward and talk about Saturn. Saturn is also known as in Hindi it's known as Shani. Okay, Shani. So beyond. So what are rings around this Saturn? Okay, so if we go into the Google, it will say that they consist of countless small particles. That means these rings, okay, consist of countless small particles ranging in size from micrometers to meters. So there are small particles revolving around the Saturn, and also large particles revolving around this Saturn, ranging from micrometers to meters, that orbit about the Saturn. The ring particles are made almost entirely of water ice. Okay, so the ring particles which rotate around this Saturn are entirely of water ice, with a trace component of rocky materials. Okay, so the first man to discover these rings was Galileo Galilei. Okay, so this was the first man to discover these rings. So these rings are not visible with naked eye. You can observe them with a small telescope. And Saturn also has a large number of satellites. And one of the surprising thing about Saturn is that that it is less dense than water. Okay, its density is less than that of water. That means if this Saturn was about to be placed in the water, it will float into the water. It will float into the water because the density is less than the water. So in this way, it is the least dense among all the planets. Okay, it is the least dense among all the planets. So Uranus and Neptune. These are the outermost planets of the solar system. Okay, the Neptune is the outermost planet of the solar system. Okay, followed by Uranus. they can be seen only with the help of large telescope. If you have large telescope, you can see them with the help of the telescope. Like Venus, Uranus also rotates from east to west. Okay, like Venus, it also rotates from east to west. It's not like the west to east. Okay, like our Earth. Our Earth rotates from west to east. And Venus and Uranus and Neptune rotates from east to west. The most remarkable feature of Venus is that it has highly tilted rotational axis. As you can see that here, that it has highly tilt. We have seen that how tilt is the axis of our Earth. Okay, but if we talk about Uranus and Neptune, it is highly tilt. It is highly tilt rotational axis. Rotational axis means the axis along which these planets rotate. Okay, so that axis is highly tilt. So this is a cause. As a result, in its orbital motion, it appears to roll on its sides, on its side. Okay, so if the observer observes its rotation, it will appear to be rolling, because its axis is much tilted. The first four planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, are much nearer to the Sun than the other four planets. They are called the inner planets. The inner planets have very few moons. Okay, so these four planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, because they are nearer to the Sun, so they are called inner planets. They are called inner planets, and these inner planets have very few moons. Some may not have moons. Our Earth has only one moon. Okay, and so they have very few moons. The planets which are outside the orbit of Mars, namely Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, they are much farther off than the inner planets. So they are called the outer planets. Okay, so there are two categories of planets. One is inner planet and other are outer planets. Inner planets are those which are nearer to the Earth, the Sun. They are Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars. And outer planets are those which are farther away from the Sun. They are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Okay, so these four planets are called they are outer planets. Okay, and they are called the outer planets. They have a ring system around them. Okay, so you will also see the ring system around these outer planets, as we have studied that these rings are actually the smaller particles. In case of Uranus, they are these water ice. Okay, so they are made up of smaller particles. Some are rocky particles, some are icy particles. So they make they revolve around the planet and make the rings. So the outer planets have large number of moons, and also one thing to remember is that the outer planets have large number of moons.